Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. The real work in any relationship does not begin with a clever phrase, nor does it end with the last word in an argument. It begins prior to language in the consciousness with which you meet the other. Be still and know that I am God. You see, the stillness is the ministry. The knowing is the healing. The words at best are only the footprints on the shore after the tide has done its work. The question that haunts you is simple. How do I respond when their behavior triggers me without becoming a reactor or a preacher? You have noticed, I know, that reaction begets reaction and preaching begets resistance. When a loved one is inflamed, if you deliver a tidy spiritual cliche, you may have righteousness on your lips and fire in your atmosphere. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but the soft answer is not merely a gentle sentence, it is a quieted consciousness. If your inner climate is storm, your whisper will still carry thunder. So we begin with restraint. Do not hurry to fix the other with syllables. Do not race to correct a scene with quotations. Take one breath, not to gather arguments, but to release them. And here is your one-line practice, your hook. Look back of the eye, see the Christ there, then speak, if you must. Back of the eye, not the pupil of personality, not the file folder of history, but the living presence of the Father as the Son. Here, within the voice that once announced, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Let that be the first recognition you bring to the room. If there is speech afterward, it will be clean. If there is no speech, the presence will have spoken. My conversation in the heat of a call for help is usually limited to this: I will help you. Then I help not by outlining solutions, not by agreeing with grievances, but by withdrawing attention from the surface man-woman drama and resting in the invisible that appears as individual being. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Do you follow that? The righteous judgment is the unjudgment of personality. It is the beholding of Christ's identity where a troubled face seems to be. We do not teach theory. We are not building a tower of affirmations to admire. We measure by fruitage. If the atmosphere eases, if the hard edge melts, if the home that last night felt like a courtroom feels today like a porch at dawn, then you have known something true. If the co-worker who bristled at your suggestion now meets you without the barb, if the child returns from their room with a softer step, then the Christ has gone before you and prepared the way. By your life experience, by the fruitage. Once a mother telephoned while two teenagers quarreled in the next room. I did not ask for the details, for details tempt us into casting directors and villains. I said, I will help you. And right where I sat, I looked back of the eye. I refused the suggestion of two powers, two tempers, two wills, and beheld silently my beloved Son. Within minutes, the noise subsided. Nothing witty was spoken. Presence does the lifting. Words, if any, come after. This is the orientation. The quiet shift that heals without winning. Your work, when you are triggered, is not to become skillful with sentences. It is to become transparent to presence. Speak only as Spirit nudges. Let your first ministry be interior. Then watch not for the pleasure of a theory proven, but for the simplicity of peace returning. By their fruits ye shall know them. If the fruit is harmony, you have met your brother in God. If not, be still again. Stand by in consciousness, and we will proceed together. Do you see? Now we build the foundation, the two words that govern the whole demonstration. The infinite way is not built on 100 formulas. It is built on a few living words. And the first of these words is as God appearing as individual being, not God somewhere else, not God before or after, but God the invisible, showing forth as the son, the neighbor, the spouse, the co-worker, the stranger at your door. Thou seest me, thou seest the Father, for I and the Father are one. Do you see? If God is appearing as individual being, then the one before you is not a separate personal power. There are not two minds, two lives, two authorities meeting in collision. There is one life, one mind, one activity, seen through many windows. The person is the window. The light is the identity. The second word is. Harmony is. Love is. Peace is. Presence is. We are not sent into the field to repair reality, to persuade God to be God. We are not sent to invent patience for an impatient soul, nor to pump love into a loveless room. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. If all that the Father has already is, then our practice is not creation, it is recognition. We are brought to judge not according to the appearance, but to bear witness to what is unmoved by the flicker of the scene. Do you follow that? You do not fight darkness, you turn on the light. You do not fight a mirage, you drink from the well that already is at hand. Take the simple logic. If God is manifest as individual being, then the person in front of you is the appearing of God. If God is the appearing, then there is not a second power there to oppose, to fear, or to manage. If there is not a second power, then the irritation, the accusation, the mood is only the old suggestion of two powers, mesmerism without law, person, or presence. Drop it. Stand still and behold the isness of God right where the mood claims to be. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Let that recognition be the first act of your ministry. When you come to a heated moment, remember, you are not trying to change their personality. That would be warfare with a shadow. You are beholding identity. Back of the eye, back of the words, back of the history, you are acknowledging the Father as the Son, the Christ as the eye of that one. And as you do, notice how the compulsions in you unwind, the compulsion to correct, to persuade, to win. This is the shift from fixing to recognizing, from doing to witnessing. The kingdom of God is within you. The withinness of the kingdom is the isness you are to meet with, not sometime, now, not elsewhere, here. This is why words are auxiliaries. If you speak before you have recognized as and is, you are a reed moved by the wind of circumstance. If you stand in as and is, you can be very quiet. You may not need to speak at all. And if a word comes, it will be clean, not the arm of flesh trying to subdue a scene, but the gentleness of realized presence that does the work. He that hath eyes to see, let him see. Your brother is not a mood. Your sister is not a story. Your partner is not a history book. God appears as that one. Harmony is the fact of that appearance. Test it at the kitchen sink, not on the mountaintop. When the familiar tone returns, the tone that always drew your countertone, pause. Do not reach for a clever sentence. Consciously know as. God is the identity appearing here. Consciously know is. Peace is the law of this meeting. Then watch. If atmosphere softens, if the edge loosens, if the timing of speech becomes measured and merciful, you have touched the foundation. Not by theory, by fruitage. And if it has not yet yielded, do not accuse the scene and do not accuse yourself. Return to the two words. Abide there until the inner sees what the outer denies. Be still and know that I am God. One presence as this person, one isness as this moment. When that is realized, relationship ceases to be a contest and becomes a revelation. Do you see? Now let us come to the thing that seems to sting. You believe it is the person and the word they spoke. You believe it is your history with them. You believe it is the tone that touched an old bruise. but that is not the trigger. The shock is the suggestion of two powers, me versus you, right versus wrong, love versus threat. In that instant, the mind divides the room into two provinces and sets up a border patrol. Do you see? The uneasiness is not the other. It is the ancient mesmerism that there are two lives and two wills in collision. Scripture is plain. There is no power but of God. And hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. When the inner eye ceases to be single, the body of your relationship is filled with shadows. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Our work is to unlearn the hypnosis of twoeness. Error, in our language, is impersonal. It is not your mother, not your partner, not your supervisor, not a neighbor. It is mesmerism, an unlocalized pressure of belief, a floating suggestion that reality is split. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, says the apostle, but against principalities, against powers. And then immediately he arms you with an unseen armor. Do you follow that? The arm you are to lay down is the arm of flesh. The power you are to wear is the invisible realization of one. Error has no person in whom to live, no law by which to act, no substance out of which to be formed. It is a shadow on the wall arguing for its own solidity. The moment you take it personally, you lend it your breath. The moment you impersonalize it, the wind drops out of its sails. Consider the old rope in the dusk that looked like a snake. Your heart ran, your hand grabbed a stick, your voice rose. But what came next? Light. The light did not strike the snake. The light revealed that the snake had never been there. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Your reaction was to an appearance. Your peace returns with the fact. Or take the streetcar tracks that seem to meet in the distance. Do you change the tracks? No, you correct the seeing. So here, the rage or chill that presents itself in another is the rope in twilight, the converging rails, the non-existent white poodle darting across your thought. Shine recognition, not argument. Drop the stick. Resist not evil, not because you are passive, but because you are active in reality and therefore will not do battle with shadows. Here is your diagnostic, and it is mercifully simple. If you feel an urgency to correct, to punish, to prove, you are personalizing. If your breath shortens, if you reach for a verdict, if you rehearse your best line while the other is still speaking, you are granting the scene a second power. Stop. Name it for what it is. Mesmerism. No person, no law, no substance. Withdraw your attention from the figure on the stage and return it to the one who is the theater, the light, the audience, and the actor God appearing as individual being. Consciously know as God is the identity here. Consciously know is peace is the law of this moment. Then, silently, look back of the eye and behold, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Do not hurry to say it aloud. Stand by. When the inward sees, the outward softens. If it does not soften at once, do not argue. Hold to impersonalization until the suggestion of twoeness loses its mask. You may say, but they were wrong. Perhaps the scene reports that. But you are not appointed to battle persons. You are called to behold reality. Even our Master, when Peter voiced a worldly caution, answered not Peter the man, but the suggestion itself, get thee behind me, Satan. He addressed the tempter of twoeness, not the beloved disciple. Do you see the pattern? Speak, if you must, to the lie as lie, not to the person as liar. And often you will not need to speak at all, for the single eye dissolves the tension that your cleverest sentence could only stir. Make this practical now. The phone rings, a sharp word lands, your chest tightens. Let the tightening be your bell of mindfulness. Not, I must fix them. Rather, I will not grant two powers to this moment. The instant you turn from the arm of flesh to the presence of one, you have shifted the axis of the meeting. You are no longer a reed moved by wind. You are the quiet tree whose roots drink from the river that already is. From that rootedness, words may come or fall away. But either way, the sting will have gone because you have refused to be managed by a fiction. One presence, one power, one life appearing as all. And in that recognition, the trigger disappears with the snake that never was. By your life experience, by the fruitage, you will know that you have seen rightly. Do you follow that? Now we come to the pivot you can take in the very breath of a moment. Look back of the eye is not mystical embroidery. It is the simplest act of spiritual honesty. It means withdraw attention from the screen, facial expression, tone, the file folder of history, the mental commentary running like subtitles, and return attention to the light that makes seeing possible. Be still and know that I am God. Do you see? The stillness is the turning. The knowing is the light. The eyes will still report a face, but you are no longer judging by the face. You are letting the withinness interpret the withoutness. How do you do this in real time? The bell rings inside, the chest tightens, the retort climbs the throat. At that very signal, do not reach outward. Let the breath fall once. Turn. Consciously know as God is appearing as this very individual. The invisible Father is showing forth a Son, the visible. Consciously know is peace is the law of this instant. Harmony is the fact of this contact. Then, with no strain and no attempt to drum up a mood, behold silently. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Identity prior to behavior. Sonship before personality. Thou seest me. Thou seest the Father, for I and the Father are one. Do you follow that? In that recognition, the room regains its single power. Give yourself one internal sentence to anchor the turn. I am not meeting a personality. I am meeting God, appearing as individual being. Hold it not as an incantation, but as you would hold the wheel steady in a gust. The gust will pass, you will still be on the road. Words are auxiliaries. Let the recognition be the activity. Do not hurry to say it at them. Do not turn a holy seeing into a pointed lesson. Our Master was silent more often than we credit. He opened not his mouth, not because he lacked truth, but because realized truth speaks by presence. If a word is given, it will be clean and spare. If no word is given, the presence has already gone before you. This is micro practice. It is not a sentence you memorize, it is a place you stand. Back of the eye, back of the story, back of the weather of the other's mood. You are not denying that behavior appeared, you are refusing to enthrone it. You are declining the hypnotism of twoness and accepting the single eye. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Your whole meeting shall be illumined, not by the cleverness of your speech, but by the innocence of your seeing. Take a small, ordinary scene. A drawer slams, a name is spoken with an edge. Do not diagnose the drawer or the edge. Do not explain the right way to close things to a soul already out of breath. Turn, back of the eye, as God is the identity here. Is. Peace is present. Behold my beloved Son. Stand by. You will notice, if you are faithful for even 10 seconds, that the compulsion to answer fades. The body unwinds. The mind ceases to draft its brief. You may find that nothing needs to be said, or you may find one sentence comes almost without you. Let's sit a moment, or only I'm here, soft, unforced, free of victory. Resist not evil. You are not resisting, you are revealing. Or in the office, a message arrives clipped, unfair. The fingers hurry to type a defense. Stop, back of the eye. I am not meeting a personality. I am meeting God appearing as individual being. There is no power but of God. As you hold that, harshness loses its provocation. You ask one clear question, or you wait an hour and reply as wisdom, not as wound. By and by you will see that this is not passivity, this is dominion. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. The life that answers is not the frightened self, it is the self that cannot be frightened. I am not asking you to be saintly, I am asking you to be accurate. Identity is Christ, appearance is weather. When you behold rightly, the weather changes or your need of weather does. Either way, harmony appears. And if it does not, at once do not argue with the sky. Stand by in consciousness. Keep the single gaze. The beloved Son has not departed because the wind is noisy. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. Behind every face you meet today is the same voice announcing the same sonship. Look back of the eye and let that voice be enough. Do you see? Then speak, if you must, and often you must not. Let the inward announcement precede the outward syllable. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Do you see? Words are auxiliaries. Presence is the ministry. In the hour of another's heat or hurt, the most spiritual sentence I know is, I will help you, then be still. Withdraw your attention from the drama and stand without hurry in the realization we have named as and is. God appearing as this individual, harmony already is. Until that is felt as more than a sentence, until it is the atmosphere of your heart, keep the door of your lips. This is why I do not preach into pain. It antagonizes. It trivializes. You would not tell a person in a burning house, fire is illusion, while they cough. You would become the door through which air and rescue arrive. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to rap is not etiquette, it is practice. Do you follow that? When the call comes and emotion surges, my conversation is usually limited to I will help you. And immediately within, I look back of the eye and behold the beloved Son. I am not applying a remedy to a person. I am recognizing the one that never fell ill. If a sentence is then given, it comes as a leaf falling of its own weight, not as a spear thrown from my cleverness. Timing is everything. Words delivered before witnessing is established are reaction dressed as virtue. They carry heat, superiority, or haste, each a sure sign that the suggestion of two powers has smuggled itself into the room. Do not lace that heat with Scripture. It burns worse under holy embroidery. Wait. Let the inner become steady enough to see only one. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is the silence in which the Father announces, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." When that sentence has sounded within you, you may find that you have nothing to say and everything to give. Presence itself becomes language. Make a simple rule you can trust in storm or sunshine. Test your words before they leave you. Do they carry heat, superiority, haste? If yes, drop them. Turn back of the eye. Consciously know as God is the identity here. Consciously know as peace is the fact here. Stand by. When the inner weather has cleared, another test. Do the words that arise feel spare, tender, and without victory? Then you may offer them. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but the softness is not tone. It is the absence of a second power in your seeing. If your sentence arrives as service and not as scorekeeping, it will heal. If no sentence arrives, your quiet will speak more faithfully than any instruction. In the family room, a loved one's voice is sharp, your history is loud, the old speech draft rises in you with all the clever exhibits. Close the file, I will help you. Then, inwardly, the gaze turns. When the single eye settles, perhaps one phrase is given. I hear you, not a debate. Or let's take 5 minutes. Not a punishment, a mercy. Or nothing at all, only a chair moved closer. Presence does the lifting. In partnership, you want to be understood. Notice the want. Do not place it as a demand upon the other. Place it upon the presence. And the sentence that comes may be as small as, could we start again? In the office, the correction you must give is needed. Deliver it without the arm of flesh. One sentence, clean, specific, without sarcasm. Then stop. Let the silence carry the weight of respect. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, not with the spice of triumph. Do you see the discipline? It is not a gag over your mouth. It is a Sabbath in your heart. You are not suppressing yourself. You are refusing to become an instrument of mesmerism. Out of realized identity, words are few and fruitful. Out of reaction, words are many and barren. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, says the proverb, but in the one word born of spirit there is often a whole reconciliation. Measure as ever by fruitage. If peace appears, if breath returns to the room, if the other's eyes lift without bracing, you have spoken or refrained under authority. If the tangle tightens after your brilliant speech, do not defend your brilliance. Return to seeing. Stand by in consciousness. Say again, if you must say anything, I will help you. And then let the Christ, not your tongue, do the reconciling. Now, we must take a step that at first seems severe, but is, in truth, a mercy to you and to every relationship you cherish, unseeing both human good and human evil. Do you see what I mean? Not denial of experience, not closing the eyes to kindness or to cruelty. Unseeing means refusing to grant personhood and power to appearances pleasant or unpleasant. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. When you enthrone the pleasant personality as the source of harmony, the same throne must also seat the unpleasant personality as the source of discord. And then you are managed, tugged like a boat by two tides, elated when the face smiles, desolate when it frowns. We are not to live at the mercy of weather. Our Master put it cleanly. Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is, God. Do you follow that? Even the good that was visible in him, he refused to ascribe to a human self. He traced it to the one. If you fasten your admiration to a person, you will fasten your disappointment there too. If you call the day blessed because they were charming, you will call the night cursed when they are not. This is bondage. Freedom comes when personality, good or bad, stops being the authority in your awareness. You do not deny that a kind act occurred. You deny that the act was sourced in a separate self. You acknowledge the source and rest there. Then you are steady, because the source is steady. Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. This is the shift from evaluation to recognition. Evaluation measures by today's mood. They were wonderful at breakfast, insufferable at dinner. Recognition bears witness to the changeless. God appearing as individual being, as God the invisible, showing forth as Son the visible. And then we return to is. Harmony is, love is, peace is. You do not bargain with shifting appearances. You live in the realization of what is true now. We walk by faith, not by sight. not because sight is wicked, but because sight is variable. Faith is recognition of isness. It anchors you before the waves rise and after they fall. Consider how the subtle trap works. You praise a child's performance and secretly make the performance the gate to your approval. You delight in a partner's sweetness and silently require sweetness to maintain your delight. You esteem a co-worker's efficiency and enthrone efficiency as their identity. Then, when inefficiency appears, or tiredness, or a mood, you feel betrayed. Who betrayed you? The idol you made of personality. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? Do you see? This is not cynicism. It is reverence for the source. Admire the fruit, yes, but trace it to its root. If you fix your gaze on the root, the fruit will neither intoxicate you nor sicken you. Unseeing human evil works the same way, but it frees faster because it refuses to feed the story. A harsh word lands. You do not certify a harsh person. You say, within. This is only the arm of flesh, no person, no law, no substance. Back of the eye, as God is the identity here. Back of the eye is peace is the law here. Behold, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. The appearance may still flicker, but you are no longer managed by it. Personality is demoted from monarch to weather report, and weather does not rule the sun. Now test this by fruitage. If you are less reactive to charm and less wounded by chill, you are seeing rightly. If you can receive a kindness without clinging to it and correct a fault without condemning, you are no longer a reed moved by the wind. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. The above is not elsewhere. It is the unseen source we have named. As you build this seeing in small moments at the sink, at the door, at the screen, you will notice that speech simplifies, timing improves, and atmosphere steadies. Not because they have become saints of mood, but because you cease to make mood your God. Let this be your inner pledge. I will not let personality, good or bad, be the authority in my awareness. I will behold God appearing as individual being. I will live in is, not negotiate with seems. And I will let the fruitage tell me if I am honest. If peace appears, if respect grows, if patience arrives without strain, you have unseated personality and enthroned presence. Do you follow that? Keep the single eye, and the whole body of your relationships will be full of light. In the family room, it is the easiest to forget. A voice you have known since childhood takes on that old tone, the one that assigns you your part before you have crossed the threshold. Well, that's just like you, or don't start, or the nickname that always signals your cue to play the child, the fixer, the clown, the quiet one. At once the body remembers its lines. Your reply runs to the stage. Do you see? That pull is not the person. It is the hypnotism of history, the suggestion of two powers written as a script. They dominate, you defend, they accuse, you justify, they brood, you brighten. The room fills with yesterday. If you accept that casting, you will perform it to the letter. Practice now, step by step. At the very instant the tone lands, let that be your bell. Pause. Do not deliver your line. Consciously impersonalize what seems to be happening. Say within, this is not a person doing something to me. This is the old suggestion of two powers, mesmerism with no person, no law, no substance. Drop it. Then turn back of the eye, as God is the identity appearing here, God the invisible showing forth as Son the visible. Peace is the law of this meeting, harmony is the fact now. Behold silently, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Wait. Let the inward weather settle until your breath belongs to you again. Peace, be still. Do you follow that? The outer scene may not have changed a hair. The authority in you has changed entirely. Only then consider words, if any. You may set a boundary, but it will not be punishment. It will be clean and proportionate. I want to hear you. Let's speak without the old labels. Or, I love you. I'll step out for 10 minutes and come back to start new. Or only, could we begin again? The difference is not cleverness, the difference is source. You are not enforcing your will against theirs. You are declining the arm of flesh in favor of the one presence governing both. When I was a child, I spake as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. You are laying down the costume, not the love. Honor has a new address. Honor thy father and thy mother does not ask you to obey a mood. It asks you to revere the source appearing as these dear ones. That reverence may sound like yes, and it may sound like no. Both can be holy when they are born of realized identity. A boundary from reaction cuts to punish. A boundary from presence trims to heal. One word, spare and steady, can end a decade-old scene. A soft answer turneth away wrath. And the softness here is not tone. Tone can be imitated. It is the absence of a second power in your seeing. Try a kitchen table moment. The familiar critique arrives, your work, your choices, the way you slice bread. You know the argument by heart. Stop as is. Behold the beloved Son. Stand by. Then perhaps you say, I hear your concern. I'm not discussing this in that tone. And you go quiet. Or perhaps the only speech is moving your chair closer and changing the subject to the garden. Not avoidance, government. The atmosphere reorders itself around the one you have recognized. Fruitage will tell you, if you are honest, the escalations grow fewer and shorter. The after rehearsals in the shower, on the drive, in the night, those dramatizations of what you should have said diminish and then stop. The heart feels surprisingly tender toward the very one who used to trigger your loudest defense. You will notice odd mercies, an apology that never came before, a hand on your shoulder as the dishes are cleared, a text 2 hours later that says, thank you for staying, or no outward sign at all, only a quiet that used to be rare and is now frequent. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Not because the family became saints of mood, but because you refused the hypnosis of history and met only the Christ identity. Do you see the secret? You did not win. You witnessed. You did not improve a personality. You unseated personality from the throne of your awareness. One presence, one power, one life appearing as all at your table. Measure only by fruitage. If love is easier, if respect is simple, if silence feels like friendship again, then you are living as and is in the very room that taught you your worst reflexes. Keep to it. Look back of the eye. Behold the beloved Son, and let the Christ, not your childhood script, govern the home. With a partner, the test shifts in a subtle way. The old idol here is not primarily control. It is comprehension to my need to be understood, validated, vindicated. Do you see how tender and how tyrannical that idol becomes? You feel misread, and at once the courtroom opens in the mind. Exhibits A through Z are laid out, the texts, the tone, last Thursday's sigh. This is personalization. It is the suggestion of two powers wearing a judge's robe. My truth versus your truth. My pain versus your deafness. If you bow to that altar, peace must wait until the verdict is in. Charity seeketh not her own. Love does not require to be believed in order to be love. Let us remove the idol. Consciously know as God is appearing as both of us in this very room. Not God for me against you, not God for you against me. God, the invisible, showing forth as Son, the visible, twice seen and once being. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Do you follow that? The putting asunder is mental. It is the belief in two powers, two sources, two separate lives. Then know is love is present, harmony is present, wisdom is present. You are not creating concord by cleverness. You are acknowledging an atmosphere that already is and standing still until the weather in you matches it. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Try a living room scene. The day has been long. A sentence lands wrong. You feel the earthquake begin in the chest, the urge to explain yourself, to replay the history that proves your innocence. Stop. Back of the eye. As God is the identity here in them and in me. Peace is the law of this moment. Behold, silently, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Breathe. Do not argue with the first wave of feeling. Let it pass under your feet as you stand on the rock. When the inward has steadied, speak, if you must, one sincere thing, not a speech to win the narrative, but a sentence that opens a window. I care more for our peace than for being right. Or would you help me hear what mattered to you in that? One question asked from presence does what 50 justifications cannot. A soft answer turneth away wrath, or a text thread grows curt and brittle. You are tempted to draft a paragraph that proves your case, drop it. Return to as and is. Then ask one clear question. What would help right now? Or one honest sentence. I want to understand, and I can pause until morning. Not avoidance, government. You are letting the single eye set the climate in which understanding can arise. Be still and know that I am God. Be still first, then know, then, if it comes, speak. In finances, where fear likes to masquerade as prudence, the idol of being understood can be loudest. You don't get how careful I am. You don't see how anxious I feel. Hear the chorus of two powers. Turn. As God appearing as us governs supply and decision, is sufficiency, is wisdom, is, then one sentence, clean and simple. Shall we look at this with fresh eyes tomorrow? Or could we pray 10 minutes in silence and decide then? You will find that practical intelligence flowers in the atmosphere of one. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. In intimacy, where vulnerability runs close to the skin, the demand to be understood can feel holy. It is not. It is a bargaining chip disguised as a need. Trade it for the truth. As this one before me is the Son beloved, sufficient, whole, is tenderness, is present now. Then perhaps the only sentence needed is, I am here. Or the only question, is this a moment for words or for quiet? Presence decides. Personality stands down. Where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Gather then in the name, that is, in the nature of one. How will you know you are not merely suppressing yourself? By fruitage. If the atmosphere lightens, if the need to win relaxes, if the other's shoulders drop without your lecture, you are beholding rightly. If after your brilliant case the room is colder, you fed the idol, do not condemn yourself, begin again. Stand by in consciousness. Look back of the eye. Behold the beloved Son, and then allow one honest question or one unheeded sentence to be enough. Partners are not laboratories for your cleverness. They are altars at which you learn unseeing both the charming and the challenging personality, and beholding only one. Peace returns when you release the demand to be understood and return to identity sighting. Do you see? When the eye is single, the two become of one heart, not by agreement, but by presence. In the office, the suggestion of two powers wears name tags: incompetent, manipulative, lazy, brilliant but impossible. Do you see how quickly labels become thrones on which we seat personality as sovereign? The email that bristles, the meeting hijacked, the deadline missed at once, the mind writes a character study and then treats the study as substance. This is hypnotism. It says there are two powers here: my competence and their incompetence, my integrity and their guile. Drop it. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Our work does not ask us to deny facts. It asks us to unseat personality as authority, as God appearing as individual being is the identity in this room, is. Order is, wisdom is, sufficiency is. Start there, stand there, do the impersonal work first. When a task fails, address the task. When a standard is needed, state the standard. Refuse the leap from behavior to identity. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils. Meaning, do not deify or demonize a persona. Give not a thought to the difficult person. Meet only mesmerism, the arm of flesh claiming two powers, and drop it. Then behold silently, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Let the sentence sound within you until the inner weather clears. Out of that clearing, you will find speech that corrects without condemning, specifics without sting. Let your yea be yea, and your nay, nay. In a meeting, watch how this works. Someone interrupts, dismisses your point, and hoists the flag of irritation. The old you reaches for a sharper flag. Stop, back of the eye. As God is the identity here in all present. Is peace and order are the law of this hour. Hold, this is my beloved Son. Now, when you speak, let it be brief, factual, and free of victory. We have three decisions to make. First, scope. Second, owner. Third, Friday's risk. Then pause. If the pushback comes, do not answer the heat, answer the item. On scope, the document specifies X. Are we changing that? This is not cleverness, it is government. A soft answer turneth away wrath, not because you speak low, but because you speak from the absence of a second power. Or the email arrives lined with insinuation. The fingers want to type a biography of the sender's faults. Close the draft. Turn. As and is. Then one clarifying question. To meet Friday, we need A and B by noon tomorrow. Can you confirm? If a boundary is required, set it cleanly. Let's keep decisions in the tracker. Side threads are hard to follow. No sarcasm, no courtroom. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt. Grace is identity realized. Salt is specificity. You may be the one giving correction to a team member. Remember, separate correction from condemnation. Speak to the work. Behold the worker as son. The test plan missed 3 cases. Let's pair for 30 minutes now and add them. Then stop. Do not rehearse their past. Do not prophesy their future. Stand by in consciousness, available to help. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. If they argue, do not personalize the resistance. Back of the eye. Hold the standard, hold the sonship. You will be surprised how often argument melts when there is nothing to push against. And yes, a superior may speak with heat. Do not cower, do not retaliate. Turn. As God is the identity appearing as this one, His wisdom is governing this exchange. Then answer the substance. Understood. I'll deliver the draft by 3 and flag dependencies. Later, if needed, 1 sentence. For future, I work best with direct requests rather than raised voices. Thank you. Clean. No sting. The dignity is not borrowed from ego, it is borrowed from oneness. How will you know you are not merely stuffing your feelings into a professional smile? By fruitage. Clearer communication appears. Power struggles lose oxygen. People who seemed cemented in resistance surprise you with cooperation. Corrections land without echo. Meetings end on time. The atmosphere of the corridor changes in small, measurable ways. Fewer after arguments in your head, more work done with less talk. If this is not so, do not indict the office. Return to seeing. Look back of the eye. Behold the beloved Son. Then speak, if you must, to facts, to tasks, to timelines, never to identities you invented. In work as in home, freedom comes when competence stops bowing to irritation and bows only to presence. Do you follow that? Stand by in consciousness and let the Christ do the reconciling, even where budgets and schedules seem to rule. There is no power but of God. Let fruitage testify. Now we come to the question that sorts reality from enthusiasm. How do you know this is not an emotional jag? By fruitage. By their fruits ye shall know them. Not by your speech, not by your glow, not by the length of your meditation or the cleverness of your reply, by the appearing of harmony where disharmony claimed to be. You see, the kingdom is not in word, but in power. Words are auxiliaries. Fruitage is the witness. What will fruitage look like in this field we are tilling? First, problems quickly and easily being solved, often with less talk than you thought necessary. The temperature drops in a room without your lecture. An apology arises from someone who never apologized before with no prompting. The argument destined to last an hour ends in 4 minutes, not because you out-argued it, but because there was nothing in you for it to push against. Tension dissolves. Kinder outcomes appear, not because you engineered them, but because government shifted from personality to presence. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Second, measurable shifts in the inner weather. Less rehearsal in the head after the meeting or the meal. The courtroom of self-justification closes earlier. Fewer reactive texts composed and deleted. More willingness to let silence carry the dignity of your position. Quicker repair when a sharp word slips out. Amends come promptly and without drama. And in contact itself, a felt sense, quiet, unforced, of the divine presence. The peace of God which passeth all understanding, not because you won, but because you beheld. Do you follow that? Set a simple conditional in your practice. If harmony appears, if breath returns to the room, if respect increases, if cooperation rises without coercion, then realization is active. You are beholding rightly. Continue. Deepen. If not, if the same scenes repeat with the same force. If after your spiritual performance the faces are tighter and the silence colder, do not blame yourself and do not blame them. Blame is personalization. Drop it. Return at once to impersonalization and practice. Say within, this is not a person, this is the suggestion of two powers, the arm of flesh, nothingness. Then turn back of the eye, as God is appearing as this one before me, is harmony is, wisdom is, love is. Now, stand by in consciousness until that is more than a sentence. Then, if you must speak one spare, unheeded word, you will be tempted to certify a mood as fruitage. Resist that. Euphoria is not proof. Results are. If over days and weeks the tangles in your closest contacts loosen, if your boundaries become cleaner and are received with less warfare, if interruptions lose their sting and competence coexists with kindness, this is fruitage. If calls that used to take 5 exchanges now take 1. if the nightly replay shrinks from an hour to a minute, if your need to be right gives way to readiness to serve without surrendering clarity, that is fruitage. A tree is known by his fruit. Understand, fruitage does not always announce itself with trumpets. Sometimes it appears as nothing happening, no explosion where there used to be one. Sometimes it is a quiet averting of a familiar cliff. Count those. Heaven often signs with small handwriting. And sometimes the first fruit is only the discovery that you can pause in the very instant the old scene tries to rise. That pause is not passivity, it is governance. It is the single eye taking the throne. If the pattern repeats with force, take this as instruction, not indictment. You may still be working with words and concepts. Good, then work faithfully. Consciously know as and is at daybreak and at doorway. Prime the pump until listening replaces recitation. Keep the tests honest. Ask, did I carry heat? Did I need victory? If yes, drop it and begin again. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment, and righteous judgment measures by fruitage. The proof, then, is simple and searching. If harmony is appearing, you are beholding rightly. If not, return to the place you left, impersonalize, look back of the eye, behold the beloved Son, stand by. Let the Christ do the reconciling. Allow the life you are living at table, in text, in hallway, to tell you plainly and kindly whether spirit is leading or personality is managing. And remember, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. When that sentence is living in you, fruitage will not be far behind. Discipline is the quiet carpenter behind every so-called miracle. The moment you need it is not the moment to begin. Do you see? Words are auxiliaries, and even right words are late if you have not trained your awareness to be governed. So we begin where beginners must begin, with conscious knowing, what I have called priming the pump. You take the two words we have built upon, as and is, and you install them like doorposts in the day. On waking, before the mind puts on its costume, know consciously, as God appearing as individual being, God the invisible, showing forth as Son, the visible as me, as those I will meet today. Is harmony, is love, is sufficiency, is. Now, do not argue, do not embellish. 2 or 3 sentences spoken inwardly and quietly, not to convince God, but to steady you in God. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Not a slogan, a placement. Before conversations at the threshold, hand on the doorknob, finger on the call button, pause, as God is the identity here, is, peace is the law here, then enter. Before messages, yes? Before you answer that text that itches to be right, pause. As and is. Then answer, if you must, from that atmosphere. At meals, set your fork down for 3 seconds. No, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Supply is, gratitude is, companionship is. You are not blessing food, you are recognizing source. At midday, when the world's hypnosis grows loud, rescue 5 minutes. Close the door if there is one. If not, close the eyes, consciously know again, prime the pump once more. Be still and know that I am God. It is better to do this 10 times for 30 seconds than once for 10 minutes and forget the rest of the day. Short, faithful placements beat long, forgetful vows. This is the letter, and it is holy when used as a bridge. But letter is not the end. As you practice, a second movement appears. The words start to feel like footsteps leading you to a door. There, stop talking, listen. This is receptivity, the listening ear. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Not speak to fix them, Not speak to confirm my plan. Speak, Father, to govern me. Do you follow that? You are not procuring divine endorsements. You are yielding to divine government. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. In that listening, you may hear no sentence at all, only a hush, a wait, a peace that does the deciding for you. Or one word rises, wait, or go, or enough, or say nothing. Trust that. The government is upon his shoulder. If your next act carries less heat and more clarity, you have heard. If agitation increases, you have continued to speak when the time was to listen. Drop it. Return to silence. Prime the pump again. Wait. Tie this to the pivot we have practiced looking back of the eye to behold the beloved Son. That gesture in crisis is made natural by these quiet repetitions in peace. When the old scene starts to climb the stage, you will not be scrambling for sentences. The seeing will be waiting for you. The inward call will be familiar. As and is will rise unbidden like a reflex. Then the pause will not be passivity. It will be presence taking the throne, and speech, if any, will come from that throne. Set simple rules. Never cross a threshold of contact without a 3-second as and is. Never send a heated message without one inward speak, Father. Never swallow food without recognizing source. Never end the day without 5 minutes of listening, no asking, no pleading, only thy will be done, and the willingness to be governed. In him we live and move and have our being. This is not a lazy man's work, but it is simple. Consciously know, then listen. Day by day the balance shifts. Less recitation, more reception, less reaction, more rulership. The in-the-moment miracle is then not a trick you perform. It is the natural fruitage of a life trained to hear before it speaks. Do you see? When receptivity replaces reaction, the eye is single, and in that single eye, the whole body of your relationships is filled with light. We have come a straight road, not a wide one. We began where healing always begins. Words are auxiliaries. Words sometimes are an interference. Then we set our feet on 2 words that govern all contact, as and is. As God appearing as individual, being God, the invisible, showing forth the Son, the visible. As you, as the one before you. Is, harmony is, peace is, love is now. Next we remove the mask that frightens. The trigger is not a person, but the impersonal suggestion of 2 powers, the arm of flesh, hypnotism, nothingness. Then we practice the pivot. Look back of the eye and behold the beloved Son. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. From there, if speech must come, let it be spare and spirit-led. If not, let presence do the speaking in silence. And all along, you were to measure by fruitage, by their fruits ye shall know them, not by a glow, not by eloquence, but by appearing harmony. Do you see the line of march? Now hear me with love. This is gentle, but it is not casual. It is simple, but it is not slack. Be still and know that I am God is not an embroidery. It is a discipline. This is not a lazy man's work, and yet it is not strain. It is faithfulness, short obediences, many times a day, until receptivity replaces reaction and rulership replaces reflex. We do not add muscle to our will. We remove our will from the throne. I and the Father are one. My conversation is usually limited to, I will help you, because presence heals where paragraphs inflame. Do you follow that? So here is the final instruction. In the very next place you feel the old scene rise, the tone, the text, the face. Do not fix, do not defend, do not preach. Stand by in consciousness at once impersonalize. This is not a person against me. This is only the suggestion of two powers, the arm of flesh, nothing. Drop it, turn back of the eye, as God is the identity here in them, in me. Is peace is the law now. Hold silently. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Wait for the inner weather to clear. If speech comes, let it be one unheeded sentence born of presence. If none comes, let quiet do the work. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. The government is upon his shoulder. Let the Christ do the reconciling. Then watch, not nervously, but honestly. Fruitage will tell you where you are standing. If the room breathes, if the urge to win dissolves, if cooperation appears without coercion, you are beholding rightly. If not, do not indict. Begin again. Return to impersonalization. Return to as and is. Return to the beloved Son. Unsee both human good and human evil. Do not be managed by charm or by irritability, and behold identity. You will find that boundaries grow clean, apologies arrive uncoerced, and silence turns friendly, not cold. Heaven's handwriting is often small. Read it by patience. Leave here, then, without burden and without bravado. Take three things only: as and is, the beloved Son, and the fruitage test. Use them at thresholds and at tables, in hallways and on screens. When you forget, and you will remember quickly, stand by again. Let your life preach, not your lips. Let your relationships show the healing by their new ease. In him we live and move and have our being. If that is more than a sentence to you, it will be more than a sentence to those you meet. It will be atmosphere. I will help you. Stand by in consciousness, behold the beloved Son, and let the fruitage testify. Thank you.